Like him or hate him, like his policies or dislike his policies, the same numbers, statistics, and polls that they were using to say it will never work, there's going to be an economic collapse, are the same things that are coming in saying the exact opposite.
The Panicans got it wrong again.
Up 3%, up 3%. Better than expected. That would be the highest level since the third quarter of 24 when it was up 3.1%. On the consumption side, up 1.4, very close to estimates. Up 1.4 would be the best since the last quarter of 24.
The economy is roaring, and we're a golden ticket away from the golden age. But the guy with the tickets is holding us hostage. 3%, way better than expected. Too late, must now lower the rate. 47 says.
Now, the thing, I do kind of like Jesse, but the thing is, he's all full in the tank for Donald Trump. We know this. We have to give people their flowers when their flowers are due. And this is the economy, stupid. So there are things that are looking great now that may not look good in the future. But we have to give credit where credit is due, especially when we had Liberation Day and even just the prospect of a second term of President Trump. They recycled the same things that happened the first time around, that, you know, the economy is going to collapse and that the stock market is going to collapse and we're going to have World War III, which didn't happen the first time around. Then we went into a situation with a different administration. We had lots of problems in the areas that we were told would have happened with the Trump administration. Taking into account, you did have COVID, and I think both sides made mistakes on that. I think Trump made mistakes. I think Biden made mistakes. But to Trump's credit, he was dealing with a brand new thing. Whereas Trump or Biden, when he came in, there was at least a vaccine in place and we kind of had a feel for what was going on. But like in this reaction video that I'm doing, there's just so much data in there that regardless of if you like Trump or dislike Trump, you should be rooting for America. You should be rooting for the American economy. So when you see good news around inflation, around, you know, jobs and all of those things, you should be able to be happy. You shouldn't be having a panic attack and trying to find something negative in it just because you don't like the current administration.
Too late. Jerome's costing the country a fortune.
Each point that this gentleman keeps up costs us $365 billion a year. Think of that. 1 point, $365 billion. If you bring it down a point, we save 365. I call him too late. You know, he's always too late. Even if he does it today, probably won't. For what reason? Nobody knows.
So what did the Fed chair do? Nothing.
In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate.
So at least he was honest in support of their goals. And their goals currently appear to be to undermine the Trump administration, which by virtue of doing that undermines the American people. We need to have people in place in these positions that we're all going to have a political view. I have a political view, but they should be putting the needs and the best interest of the American people first. We're going to look at this video and they're going to talk about all of the rate cuts that happened during the Biden administration when the economy was not as robust as it is right now. So it's clear that their goals are to undermine the Trump administration.
Unchanged.
Did this guy get hit in the head renovating the Fed? 3% growth, low unemployment, business investment booming, and inflation's only at 2.1%. 2.1. And unlike Bidenomics, wages are growing faster than inflation. And also unlike Bidenomics, we're creating jobs for Americans, not illegals. Americans have gained 2 million jobs, and illegals have lost 500,000. And what do you know? The fruit's not dying on the vine. So what
he means by that is they were saying that if they were to enforce a lot of the Trump policies around immigration and deporting people and just locking the border, like the border is locked. He did that in like 2 weeks, right? They were saying that they wouldn't have enough workers to pick the fruits. And it's funny to me how demeaning they are when they're talking about people that are coming here. So like all they're good for is cleaning people's behinds and picking fruits. There are people and there is machinery and technology that can do it. Yes, they do account for a large portion of the people that are doing these jobs, but why not have other people doing the jobs? You know, as someone who lived in Texas for a while and has nephews, they would struggle to get jobs because they don't speak Spanish. And that's nothing against the immigrants that come over here. It's just a sound business decision. When we had a business in Houston, you know, we wanted a bilingual person on the counter because then we could serve our customer base better. But then what's happening with, especially with this thing about picking fruits and all of that, they're not going to die on the vine. There will be some impact, but industries in the free market will self-correct, and we will get to a point where the right people are getting the jobs. And maybe it just means that you need to hire American people and actually pay them a fair wage rather than taking advantage of people that may be in the country illegally, and therefore you're just taking advantage of them. So this is a good thing to make sure that you are taking care of your residents first, that your residents can be happy and prosperous, that they can then bless other people who aren't as fortunate.
Excuse this time. He cut 3 times last year for Biden-Harris, and their inflation rate was higher than Trump's. It's got to be personal because he cut when he was told to by Pocahontas.
He said he waited too long. And the best way you can show that you waited too long and that you get it and that you are becoming more responsive to where we are on interest rates is actually go ahead and do a nice big rate cut.
Today at the rate meeting, there was a mutiny. 2 governors who want to cut voted against Jerome. That hasn't happened since 1993. Clinton hadn't even met Lewinsky yet.
And it does show how Fed Chair Powell, he's not just facing pressure from the White House to cut interest rates, he's also facing pressure from some of his colleagues inside this building.
Chuck Schumer, who doesn't even know how to grill a burger, is accusing Trump of putting out fake numbers.
Chuck Schumer, I think he's served his purpose. I think he's one of the people that is a good case for term limits. I think there's a balance, and how do we strike the balance? I'm not sure that a freshman congressperson or senator is going to have the best ideas, because I think it does take a while to understand how the politics work, how to maneuver in DC. You saw that with Trump in his first term. I think he was just blindsided by the mechanism of politics. And I think that him having those 4 years off actually ended up being a good thing because he understood that. But people like Chuck Schumer is a career politician. I think he's past his sell-by date. However, I think the term limits are good, but I do think you need wisdom. You need some people that do know how to operate in the system and do understand the politics and can maneuver in there. So I think we should certainly have term limits. The question is, how do we set those term limits? I think there should be cognitive tests. So you shouldn't have people like, I think it was Feinstein, who actually die in the seat and you see them deteriorating. You would never treat one of your relatives like that. But just to hang on to power, quite often politicians do this on both sides. It's not just the Democrats, but Chuck Schumer has proven himself to just be a political hack in many cases and doesn't often put the needs of the country, in my view, as his first priority. A lot of the times it's just, we're going to do the opposite of whatever the Republicans are doing.
While the Trump administration will try to wave rosy headlines about the Q2 number, today's GDP number is in fact a mirage.
A mirage is when you see things that aren't there, like Joe Biden in the White House. The entire Democrat Party is a mirage. You take away USAID, illegals, and mail-in ballots, and there's no there there. Even CNBC panicans are mocking Chuck and Pocahontas.
Senator Elizabeth Warren will come on and say inflation's out of control and the economy is getting killed by what's happening by these tariffs. This 3% with the market at new highs, and really we haven't seen inflation, but none of these horrible things have happened, but they still talk like it's happening. It's amazing.
There's an important lesson there. Don't pick a congressman to be your money manager.
Boom. And the thing is, for a lot of people, they don't watch balanced media. So I, for one, I will watch Fox, CNN, I will watch, CNNBC, whatever it is. They call it a lot of different things because they always try to put the whole DNC thing in it. But MSNBC, I'll watch all of them and then make an informed choice. Sometimes, the Republicans get it right. Sometimes the Democrats get it right. But ultimately, if you're looking at the data, the same data that they were using to criticize the tariffs and to criticize some of the economic policies, this data is coming out good. And now they're saying don't trust the data. That's the hypocrisy. But it's the fault of the viewers, because the viewers will take that information and forget what they saw last week because it fits the narrative that they want. The data is on the side of Trump right now. The winning is, like he said, and like I'll show at the end of the video, the winning is getting to be a habit. It's becoming a behavior. And when you see CNN and a lot of these channels actually have to admit what they're actually seeing, then Now, it's not going to last forever. There is going to be no perfect economy. So this golden age that we're looking forward to may or may not happen. But right now, you've got to give this administration their props for the good things that they're doing. And they're doing so many things, big trade deals. They're doing domestic policy. They're doing foreign policy. They're doing a lot of things. And you have to acknowledge that. This is why I can't trust the other side quite often, because the metrics that they used before to say how good the Biden economy was, the things that they're looking at now, they're saying, well, that's not true.
The Democrats really don't want to see the current administration have some success, but there's no doubt that this is some success.
Don't pick a congressman to be your money manager, except Pelosi. More on her later. The mainstream media is admitting that Trump is winning. Numbers don't lie, and the deals keep coming. We have just concluded a deal with the country of Pakistan, whereby Pakistan and the United States will work together on developing their massive oil reserves. We're going to drill, baby drill in Pakistan after they harbored bin Laden, or as Obama says, Pakistan.
I will say this, like, Trump is playing 4D chess while everybody else is playing checkers. And this is why, like, people like economists and people that just are Trump deranged, they can't understand it because they're looking at a thing in isolation. They're not looking at the fact that he's doing lots of things on so many different layers that maybe if you were just looking at tariffs as in isolation and that was the only thing that was happening, maybe some of their predictions would be right. Maybe they'd be wrong. But because he's doing so many different things and pulling so many different levers, and the news is just moving so quickly, their doom and gloom predictions aren't right because they're not able to account for all of the different things that are happening throughout the economy. The impact on cutting down on the immigration is going to impact a lot of things. It's impacting the job market. It's impacting crime. Apparently, this year is on the books to be one of the safest years in U.S. history. And this is because of some of the policies around policing and stopping that foolish conversation about defund the police.
And Trump says he just got a deal with South Korea. 15% tariff rate. They buy our energy and invest here in America. And they open up their whole market. POTUS is bringing the doubters on notice.
Critics said that our tariffs would hurt the economy, but the data shows the exact opposite, and the exact opposite is happening. Foreign imports were down 30% in the second quarter, while the domestic auto production surged by a stunning 36%. How about that number, Dr. Oz? Right, that's good.
All the good news is making Democrats blow a fuse. Their attacks are falling flat, so they're turning on each other like the Real Housewives.
All we do is win, 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 no matter what. Right now, the Trump administration is winning. And people like Cory Booker, who, like, I just don't understand why he doesn't just focus on Jersey, because him on the national stage, I don't think it makes the Democrats look very good because he's not a dynamic person. Everything that he does seems performative. Now, no doubt he's accomplished great things, so I'm not knocking that. I'm proud of him for what he's accomplished, but he needs to stay in his lane, because I don't think on the national stage that he comes across as someone that is compelling and charismatic. And this rant that he does now is a
Democratic
demonstration
Party
of
needs
that.
a wake-up call. It's time for Democrats to have a backbone. It's time for us to fight. It's time for us to draw lines. Don't question my integrity. Don't question my motives. I'm standing for Jersey. I am standing for my police officers. I'm standing for the Constitution, and I'm standing for what's right. And dear God, if you want to come at me that way, you're going to have to take it up with me.
I guarantee you he rehearsed that. That doesn't come across as like a situation where he was sitting there and just the emotion and the passion of what he's doing just swelled to the top. He rehearsed that. And this is one of the problems that I think quite often happens more specifically with the Democrats. It's on both sides, but they're always looking at focus groups. They're always looking at these paid consultants, which is a way of money laundering for them quite often, to say, well, you need to be more like Trump, or you need to swear more, or you need to just show that you're ready to fight. It doesn't come across as authentic. And again, like Trump, dislike Trump, even from before he ran for president, he was on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was in Pizza Hut commercials, because even though he was rich, he came across as authentic, and you can't fake that. And the Democrats go to a consultant and say, well, how can I be more authentic? How can I come across and be someone that resonates with the regular person, instead of just being real? Just be real, be yourself, have a view. If people don't agree with the view, they don't agree with the view. And that's one of the things that I gotta say I respect about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is who he has been for decades. Is not an effective senator, but he is consistent and he's authentic. That's why when he was running, he had a really good chance of getting the Democratic nomination until Hillary did her thing. But people can recognize real. And you can tell, like this Cory Booker thing, it just does not come across as real.
Rules for men: control your emotions. You never see Trump lose his cool, even when they arrested him and put him on trial. The great Paul Moreau quoted Ernest Hemingway on the Five and said, "Don't confuse movement with action." Democrat Dan Turrentine, rhymes with wine, agrees.
You have Booker, who keeps giving angry speeches, right? He doesn't do anything. He doesn't offer anything. He just screams fight. So he's the hysteria caucus right now.
Democrats were texting reporters during Spartacus's screed that they were, rhymes with hissed. They were calling him a theater kid, and an attention rhymes with door.
There's a way to change a bill. And then there's a way to get in the opening segment of Morning Joe and on the front page of the New York Times. And Cory chose the latter rather than the former.
Cory's my son.
Well, it gets them airtime. This is why Jasmine Crockett is supposedly one of the rising stars of the Democratic Party, because it's the theater, it's the performativeness of the whole thing. If you watch my videos, my views on her. She and the Democrats that just want to find a voice and a clique are doing these things, and it's not helping them. They've done this autopsy, but they haven't learned, because they don't want to accept that the American people have a view, they have ideals, they have values. And to resonate with those values, you have to display those values. I don't think very many Trump voters would say, I love Trump's personality in respect to him being a little bit petty, him being mean, him calling people names. That's not things that people love about him, but they tolerate it because it does come across like that's just how he is. Whereas with the Democrats, they're always looking to cosplay. They're looking to say, well, we need to be more manly, or we need to be more angry, or instead of just being themselves. And if that self resonates with the American public, then there you have it. You shouldn't be paying consultants to say, how do we appeal to men? And I think one of the big problems that the Democratic Party has is that they are allowing themselves to be taken over by dare I say it, black women. Nothing wrong with black women. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have a voice. I'm not putting them down. But if you're trying to appeal to the majority of the US, which is going to be majority white, and then half of that is going to be male, and you have the sassy black girl doing the sassy black girl thing, it's not going to work, right? And then when you have, all of these female voices that are taking over the party, like those two things cannot exist with a like alpha male, right? So you need some real men with integrity, with character, men that are going to value people. You need a meritocracy. You can't have it too heavily weighted where the voices and the people that are actually steering the party are the Jasmine Crockett's, because you see it's not working. And you see how, she was boohoo whining and crying because she didn't get a position that she was going for. It's all self-evident. You don't need a consultant. You just need to be in the streets talking to actual people, and they will tell you. They'll tell you what they don't like. They'll tell you that no one, as a majority of people were never on board with males playing female sports. It's just obvious. It doesn't mean that you hate a whole community or you're saying that they don't have a right to exist. It's just how it is. And you can't keep, as Democrats, saying, well, it's a messaging problem, or, we just need a way to get people to understand. People understand, they just don't agree.
And all he does is yell at me. If that's all it takes, then we might as well elect Jessica Tarlov. Just like Mayor Pete's beard, this isn't working. With guys like Booker, Beto, and Buttigieg getting in cat fights with Amy Klobuchar, no wonder Democrats feel like they don't have any men in their party. According to a new survey, they can't name a single Democrat more masculine than Barack Obama. Barry, who crosses his legs and is glad he never had a son. That Barry, who said boys should stop playing sports and take their gay friend to the theater. That Barry. So Democrats are forced to role play. Swalwell's hitting the weights, and now he's calling out Gutfeld. Quote, here's a deal for Gutfeld. The deal? If tough guy benches more than me for 10 reps, I'll leave Congress. If not, he leaves Fox News. I'll give Greg 48 hours to accept, and then
So that's kind of based on one of the segments on, I think it was The Five, where they had Swalwell and they played the video of him lifting, and then Greg came in. And this is tough talk. So it's like, Swalwell, yeah, maybe you can bench more, but you don't come across as more masculine. And this underpins their lack of understanding of what masculinity is. So to Swalwell to appear more masculine, he's going to be like, oh yeah, I can bench more, which means he doesn't understand that someone like Gutfeld, who is just kind of a man's man, like Gutfeld is the type of person I could say I would like to hang out with, because he's just a guy's guy. He says what he thinks. He says stupid things. He doesn't take himself too seriously. These are some of the characteristics of true masculinity, not what they're saying, which then would feed into misogyny, which they would then say is not a good thing. Swalwell, his political career is kind of bumpy, and his past, especially with the whole Chinese spy thing, is something that's questionable. But he should not try to go up against Gutfeld, who, at the end of the day, is a comedian and a talk show
I'm calling him
host.
Gutlessfeld. Gutfeld's an old man, Congressman. Take it easy on him. Democrats are like little orphan Annies. Their father got cooed and disappeared into Delaware, and now their mom left home. Kamala just made a big announcement. Quote, after deep reflection, I've decided that I will not run for governor in this election. For now, my leadership in public service will not be in elected office.
I think she finally got the message. I think she realized that her political career is probably over, and she was able to ascend to a level that I think was beyond her talent. I think, again, I always like to give people their flowers. For an individual to become a senator, to become vice president of the United States, even especially as a woman, like she broke a lot of the glass ceiling. I have to give her credit for that. Like, if she were my daughter, I would be proud. But it then doesn't mean you give them a full pass on everything. And this is the problem with having Black women in certain positions, is the fact that you can never, even with in good faith, you can never critique a thing that they're not doing well. Kamala was not a good nominee. She did not make it past the primary when she was running for president. She didn't even make it, I think, to the first vote. So that's not Republicans saying that. That's other Democrats saying that. And to try to convince people that she was a good candidate just to hold on to power, just to defend the narrative that Biden was doing everything right, it undermines the Democratic Party, and they won't learn. They won't learn. So now she's come out and said that she's not running for governor. Hopefully it's because she realizes that she's not cut out for this. She's not built to be on that level. Maybe she was a good attorney. I've heard from, Joe Brown, and also from the judge guy, Judge Joe Brown, and the guy that was the mayor of California, of LA, the mayor of LA, that apparently gave Kamala Harris a lot of breaks. They said, she was even a questionable attorney. But listen, go sit down somewhere. You are someone that can inspire a generation of like you would say, Black women or Indian women, whatever you are, you can inspire them. You were the vice president. Write a book, do speeches if people want to pay to hear you talk, and then just move on. Sit on some boards, make your money, and just fade into history and be seen as the holding block or the space holder that was between 45 and 47's administration. Again, not to knock you, but I just don't think Kamala Harris was an amazing candidate. Hillary Clinton was better. If Michelle Obama had run, she'd have been better. There's countless women that would have been far better than Kamala Harris, and everybody knew it. She was one of the most unpopular vice presidents in U.S. history. Again, this is not the Republicans saying that. This was the country saying that. So they need to stop trying to convince people that she was a good vice president, that she would have been a good governor. Maybe she'll run for president again. We'll see. There's a lot of time to go between now and 2028. But hopefully the Democrats will come up with someone better.
Hunter Biden, when reached for comment, told us, that's interesting. Kamala's not running because she was going to lose. Donors weren't giving. And she was going to have to run a tough primary. So to save face, she's going to sit on her keister in California and nag Doug. Since mommy and daddy are out of the picture, Democrats are going to have to grow up the hard way. Screaming, singing, and dancing won't make you into a man. First, they should try crushing deals and drives.
Did you get to see my drive in the first hole?
You hit it straight pretty high.
I did. Pretty long. Pretty long. That's no Joe Biden.
See, Trump is he's just a troll. And there's just something about him that the people that do like him, they see it, they get it. He's a billionaire, and he took time out from all of that. A lot of people will say it was hubris and, his desire for power. I see it a little bit differently, but he took time out from all of that to try to take the country in a direction that some don't agree with, but that he felt needed to be done. And he'd been saying this for absolute decades. When you watch his old videos and people ask about him running for president, he said under what conditions he would run and what he would do. And he's doing the things that he said he was going to do. So whether you like him or dislike him, you got to say that he's consistent in him delivering on the things he says he's going to deliver. He's a funny dude, right? Like, just hearing him talk, his timing, his mannerisms is just funny. And that's the bit that people that don't like him, that's what they don't get. Like, people don't necessarily like everything about his personality, but they do find him funny. And he's getting it done. He is getting it done. People are getting sick of all the winning. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure that you leave a comment. As I always say, I'm just a guy with a Wi-Fi connection and a camera. I'm just sharing my views and adding to the political discourse in a way that hopefully is nuanced and balanced. And I don't try to get mean and say mean things about people, but I will give my view and my thoughts on their policies, their actions, and maybe some of the things that they say.
All right.
Look, you're going to be so proud of your country if I get in. You're going to be so proud of your president, and I don't care about that. But you are going to be so proud of your country because we're going to turn it around and we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with health care and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's